Elizabeth Harper stood by the kitchen window, watching raindrops trace delicate paths down the cold glass. Her small cottage in Brighton felt more like a burden than a home these days. At 32, she carried the weight of responsibilities that seemed to grow heavier with each passing month. Her father, George, sat quietly in the worn armchair near the fireplace. Once a strong railway engineer, he was now a shadow of his former self, battling a series of health complications that drained their already limited finances. Medical bills had become their constant companion, a relentless reminder of their struggling existence. Elizabeth worked part-time at the local library, a job that barely covered their basic expenses. Her real passion lay in writing, but dreams seemed like luxuries they couldn't afford. Every evening, after caring for her father and finishing her library shift, she would sit at the small wooden desk by her bedroom window, scribbling stories in her well-worn notebook. The manuscript she had been working on for years told the story of ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges, much like her own life. It was a reflection of resilience, of hope surviving in the most difficult circumstances. But publishing seemed like a distant dream, something that happened to other people, not to someone like her. Their modest income meant carefully planned meals, second-hand clothes, and constant worry about making ends meet. Elizabeth would often prepare simple soups and bread, ensuring her father ate nutritious meals despite their limited budget. She mended their clothes, cut her own hair, and found creative ways to save every penny. George watched his daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. He knew the sacrifices she made, putting her own dreams on hold to care for him. "You shouldn't give up on your writing," he would tell her, his voice weak but determined. "Your stories are important." But Elizabeth found it hard to believe. Rejection letters from publishers had piled up over the years, each one a small blow to her confidence. She wondered if her dreams were nothing more than childish fantasies, unrealistic hopes that would never materialize. The cottage itself seemed to reflect their struggles. Paint was peeling from the walls, the wooden floors creaked with age, and the garden, once her mother's pride, was now an overgrown reminder of better times. Elizabeth's mother had passed away 5 years earlier, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. Every morning, she would help her father with his medication, prepare his breakfast, and ensure he was comfortable before heading to the library. Her world had become a careful routine of care, work, and brief moments of stolen creativity. At the library, Elizabeth found solace among the books. She loved arranging shelves, helping readers find their perfect story, and occasionally reading snippets of literature during quiet moments. Her colleagues respected her dedication and kindness, often noting how she managed to remain positive despite her challenging circumstances. Her manuscript represented more than just a collection of words. It was a testament to survival, to the human spirit's ability to find hope in the most challenging circumstances. Elizabeth wrote about ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges, drawing inspiration from her own life and the community around her. As evening approached, she would return home, prepare a simple dinner, and sit beside her father. Sometimes they would talk about memories, sometimes they would sit in comfortable silence. George would occasionally ask about her writing, his eyes bright with hope and encouragement. "Your stories matter," he would say, squeezing her hand. "Never forget that." Elizabeth would smile, but deep inside, doubt continued to whisper. How could her stories matter when they were struggling to pay the next medical bill? How could she pursue her writing when survival demanded every ounce of her energy? Little did she know that fate was about to present an unexpected opportunity, a moment that would challenge everything she believed about her life's limitations. The universe had its own plans, waiting to unfold in the most surprising manner. As darkness fell over their small cottage, Elizabeth continued to write, her pen moving across the paper, capturing dreams and hopes that refused to be silenced by hardship. Her story was just beginning, though she didn't know it yet. The library where Elizabeth worked was quiet that Wednesday morning, with soft sunlight filtering through dusty windows. Most days passed without incident, but today would be different. Richard Thornberry, a distinguished publisher from London, walked in unexpectedly, his polished shoes clicking against the wooden floor. Elizabeth was arranging books on the history shelf, carefully organizing each volume. She wore her usual simple gray dress, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Mr. Thornberry initially appeared to be just another visitor, looking around with mild curiosity. As she worked, Elizabeth didn't notice the publisher watching her. Her movements were precise, her hands handling each book with genuine care. She spoke softly to an elderly patron, helping him find a book about local maritime history. Her knowledge and passion were evident in every interaction. Richard Thornberry observed her quietly. He had visited countless libraries across England, but something about Elizabeth caught his attention. The way she spoke, the careful manner in which she managed the books, suggested there was more to her than a simple librarian. During a quiet moment, Elizabeth pulled out her personal notebook. She often used library breaks to write, scribbling ideas and fragments of her ongoing manuscript. Richard, standing nearby, noticed her writing and was intrigued by her concentration. "Interesting work?" he asked, surprising Elizabeth. She looked up, slightly startled. Most publishers or visitors rarely showed interest in her writing. "Just some personal notes," she replied hesitantly, preparing to close the notebook. But Richard's curiosity was piqued. He politely asked if she would be willing to share a bit about her writing. Elizabeth, though nervous, explained the basic premise of her manuscript, a story about ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges. As she spoke, her eyes brightened. The passion she usually kept hidden emerged. Richard listened carefully, recognizing something special in her narrative approach. Her story wasn't just words on paper, it was a genuine reflection of human resilience. "Would you be interested in letting me review your full manuscript?" Richard asked, his tone professional but kind. Elizabeth couldn't believe her ears. Publishers had rejected her work multiple times before. This seemed too good to be true. She stammered, explaining her current circumstances, caring for her father, working part-time, struggling financially. Richard understood. He saw beyond her current situation, recognizing the potential in her storytelling. He provided his business card, suggesting she send her complete manuscript for review. "Take your time," he said. "But I believe your story deserves to be heard." That evening, Elizabeth returned home with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Her father noticed the change in her demeanor immediately. When she shared the encounter, George's eyes sparkled with hope. "This could be your moment," he said softly. The next few weeks became a whirlwind of preparation. Elizabeth worked on refining her manuscript, typing late into the night after caring for her father. Every spare moment was dedicated to perfecting her work. She knew the opportunity was rare. Many writers never received such a chance. The possibility of being published seemed like a distant dream suddenly becoming tangible. Richard's visit represented more than a potential publishing deal. It was a reminder that opportunities could arrive unexpectedly, that dreams weren't confined by current circumstances. Elizabeth understood the road ahead would be challenging. Publishing was a competitive world, and her background was far from the typical literary circles. But for the first time in years, she felt a genuine sense of hope. Her father's encouragement, the publisher's interest, and her own determination created a powerful combination. She was ready to share her story, to transform her personal struggles into a narrative that might inspire others. As she continued working on her manuscript, Elizabeth realized that sometimes life's most significant moments arrive when least expected. The library, her workplace, had become the unexpected stage for a potential life-changing opportunity. The story of Elizabeth Harper was about to take an unexpected turn, proving that persistence, passion, and a bit of luck could indeed change everything. The letter from Richard Thornberry arrived on a crisp autumn morning, bringing with it a challenge that would test Elizabeth's entire existence. The publishing contract came with strict conditions: complete the manuscript in 3 months, with detailed revisions and a professional quality submission. Elizabeth stared at the contract, her hands trembling. 3 months seemed impossible. Her father's health was deteriorating, her library job demanded consistent hours, and her limited resources meant every moment was precious. Yet, the opportunity was too significant to ignore. Her daily routine transformed overnight. She would wake before dawn, preparing her father's medication and breakfast. At the library, she worked efficiently, using every spare moment to review her manuscript. Lunch breaks became writing sessions, her notebook always close at hand. George watched his daughter's determination with a mixture of pride and concern. Some days, his health required constant attention. Elizabeth would help him to doctor's appointments, manage his medications, and ensure his comfort, all while dispiriting to meet her writing deadline. Nights became her primary writing time. After settling her father to bed, she would sit at her small desk, surrounded by reference books and her well-worn manuscript. Instant coffee became her companion, keeping her awake through long hours of writing and editing. The library manager, understanding her situation, offered slight flexibility in her work schedule. They recognized Elizabeth's potential and wanted to support her dream. Small kindnesses like these gave her additional strength to continue. Her manuscript began to take shape differently. The story of struggle and hope became more refined, more powerful. Elizabeth drew from her own experiences the challenges of caring for her father, managing limited finances, and maintaining hope during difficult times. Some nights, exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her. Her father's medical bills continued to pile up, and the financial pressure was immense. She would look at the manuscript and wonder if this was all worth the effort. But then George would offer a word of encouragement. "Your story matters," he would say, his voice weak but filled with love. "Keep writing." The local community began to notice her changed routine. Neighbors would offer small help, bringing homemade meals, helping with groceries, or sitting with her father for short periods. Their support became another source of strength. Elizabeth's writing reflected her inner journey. Each chapter became a testament to human resilience, to the ability to find hope in the most challenging circumstances. She wrote about ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges, drawing from her own life's experiences. As weeks passed, the manuscript transformed. What started as a personal project became a powerful narrative of survival, love, and hope. Elizabeth discovered that her writing was more than just words on paper, it was a reflection of the human spirit. Her father's health remained a constant concern. Medical appointments, medications, and care consumed significant time and resources. Elizabeth learned to balance her writing with her caregiving responsibilities, often working in short, intense bursts. The library became her sanctuary. During quiet moments, she would review her manuscript, making careful notes, refining each paragraph. Her colleagues noticed her dedication, offering quiet support and understanding. Richard Thornberry's deadline loomed like a constant reminder. 3 months seemed both an eternity and a moment. Elizabeth knew this was her one chance to change their lives, to potentially secure a better future for herself and her father. As the final weeks approached, Elizabeth worked with increased intensity. Her manuscript became a living thing, breathing with the experiences of her characters. She understood now that writing was more than just telling a story, it was about capturing the essence of human experience. Her father continued to be her biggest supporter. Even on his weakest days, he would ask about her progress, his eyes bright with hope and love. "You're doing something important," he would remind her. The challenge was more than just meeting a publishing deadline. It was about proving to herself that dreams could become reality, that hope could survive even in the most challenging circumstances. Elizabeth Harper was writing not just a manuscript, but her own story of survival, love, and unexpected opportunity. The hospital corridor felt cold and sterile. Elizabeth sat beside her father's bed, watching his shallow breathing, her manuscript forgotten on the nearby chair. George's health had suddenly deteriorated, transforming their challenging journey into a nightmare of medical uncertainty. Medical bills arrived like relentless waves, each envelope a new threat to their fragile financial stability. The doctors spoke in careful, measured tones about extensive treatments and potential surgeries. Elizabeth listened, her heart racing with fear and financial panic. Her writing deadline was just weeks away, but everything seemed to be falling apart. Hospital visits consumed her days, and her manuscript lay untouched. The publisher's expectations felt like an impossible mountain to climb. Richard Thornberry's encouraging words now seemed like a distant dream. At night, Elizabeth would sit in the hospital waiting room, her tired eyes scanning her manuscript. The words that once flowed so easily now felt frozen, disconnected from her current reality. She wondered if her dream of publishing was just another unrealistic hope. Her library job was at risk. She had used most of her leave, and the management, while sympathetic, could not continue supporting her indefinitely. Financial pressures mounted from every direction. Medical expenses, potential job loss, and the publishing deadline. Some nights, Elizabeth would break down silently, tears falling without sound. The weight of responsibility felt overwhelming. Her father, even in his weakened state, would reach out and hold her hand, offering silent comfort. "Don't give up," George would whisper, his voice barely audible. "Your story matters." The local community noticed her struggle. Neighbors began helping with small tasks, bringing meals, helping with hospital visits, offering emotional support. Their kindness became a lifeline during her darkest moments. Elizabeth's manuscript represented more than just a writing project. It was a reflection of hope, of survival against impossible odds. But now, those very themes seemed to mock her current situation. Hospital corridors became her new writing space. Between doctor consultations and nursing checks, she would scribble notes, desperate to maintain some connection with her dream. The manuscript became a lifeline, a reminder of something beyond their current crisis. Richard Thornberry sent a gentle reminder about the approaching deadline. Elizabeth read his email with a mixture of guilt and desperation. How could she possibly complete the manuscript under these circumstances? Her father's condition required constant care. Medical treatments, medication management, and emotional support consumed every moment. Elizabeth felt herself being pulled in multiple directions, her personal dreams seeming increasingly insignificant. One particularly difficult night, as she sat beside her father's hospital bed, Elizabeth confronted her breaking point. The manuscript, the publishing opportunity, her job, her father's health, everything seemed to be unraveling simultaneously. "I can't do this," she whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. The dream of publishing suddenly felt like an impossible luxury compared to her current challenges. But then, something unexpected happened. Her father, weak but aware, squeezed her hand. "Your story is important," he said clearly. "Don't let circumstances steal your dream." Those words became a turning point. Elizabeth realized that her struggle was itself a story of resilience. The challenges she was facing were not obstacles but rich material for her writing. She began to see her current situation differently. The hospital room, the medical challenges, her father's illness, these were not interruptions to her story but integral parts of her journey. With renewed determination, Elizabeth pulled out her manuscript. She would not let circumstances defeat her. Her story of hope and survival would be told, regardless of the challenges. The breaking point became a moment of transformation. Elizabeth understood that true resilience was not about avoiding difficulties but about finding strength within them. Her manuscript would be completed. Her dream would survive. And her father's unwavering belief would be her guiding light. The publishing house was quiet when Richard Thornberry first opened Elizabeth's manuscript. Outside, London's morning light filtered through large windows, casting a soft glow on the pages that would change everything. Elizabeth's manuscript told a story deeper than mere words. It captured the raw essence of human resilience, drawing from her own life's incredible journey. Her experiences of caring for her father, managing impossible financial challenges, and maintaining hope became the heart of her narrative. Against all expectations, the book resonated powerfully with readers. Publishers were stunned by its authentic portrayal of ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges. Within weeks, Whispers of Hope became a surprise bestseller, climbing bookstore charts across England. George watched from his hospital room, his health improving, tears of pride filling his eyes as news of his daughter's success spread. The book's royalties not only covered his medical treatments but provided financial stability they had never known. Literary critics praised Elizabeth's unique storytelling. They described her work as a profound exploration of human endurance, highlighting how ordinary people navigate life's most challenging moments. Book clubs and reading groups discussed her narrative with passionate enthusiasm. Elizabeth's life transformed overnight. Speaking engagements, book signings, and media interviews became her new reality. The small-town librarian who had struggled for years was now a celebrated author, her story inspiring thousands. Her first major public speaking event was emotional. Standing before a packed auditorium, Elizabeth shared her journey, the challenges of caring for her father, managing limited resources, and maintaining hope. Her honesty touched every listener's heart. Success isn't about perfection, she would tell audiences. It's about continuing to move forward, even when everything seems impossible. The local community that had supported her through difficult times now celebrated her success. Neighbors who had brought meals, helped with groceries, and offered support during her challenging times now attended her book launches with pride. Her father became her biggest supporter. From his recovered health, George watched his daughter transform from a struggling caregiver to a successful author. Their relationship, always strong, became even more profound through their shared journey. The library where Elizabeth had worked became a symbol of her transformation. Her colleagues celebrated her success, remembering the quiet woman who had worked diligently while nurturing her writing dream. Financial stability arrived unexpectedly. Book royalties, speaking fees, and potential movie adaptation rights provided resources they had never imagined. Elizabeth ensured her father received the best medical care, creating a comfortable life for both of them. But money was never her primary motivation. Elizabeth's true success was in sharing a message of hope, showing that extraordinary dreams could emerge from ordinary circumstances. She established a small foundation supporting struggling writers and caregivers, understanding the unique challenges they faced. Her personal experience became a platform for helping others navigate similar life challenges. Publishing houses that had previously rejected her manuscript now sought her next book. Elizabeth took her time, understanding that authentic storytelling couldn't be rushed. Her writing continued to reflect real human experiences. Her father's recovery became another miracle. The stress and financial burden that had previously threatened their existence now seemed like distant memories. George's health improved, allowing him to enjoy his daughter's success. Elizabeth never forgot the small moments that had defined her journey, the quiet writing sessions, her father's encouragement, the community's support. These experiences remained the foundation of her continued success. During interviews, she would often say, "Dreams don't have expiration dates. They wait for us to be brave enough to pursue them." Her story spread beyond books. Magazines, documentaries, and motivational speakers began sharing her journey. Elizabeth became a symbol of hope, proving that persistence and belief could overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. The manuscript that had once seemed like an impossible dream now sat proudly on bookshelves worldwide. Elizabeth's journey from a struggling caregiver to a celebrated author inspired countless individuals facing their own challenges. As she looked back, Elizabeth understood that her true triumph wasn't just the book or the success. It was the journey itself, a testament to the incredible resilience of the human spirit. Her story whispered a powerful message: hope always finds a way.